Hey viewers, welcome to another edition of Creative Game Design, and today we're doing champions. Well, first of all, as you might have already noticed, we are looking at the old champions, so that is the champions that are already in game. And I did a little bit of analysis of what the skills on each of the champions actually do, and I found out some pretty actually predictable things if you played the game, but also some things that were concerning to me and that I really think that Riot might want to avoid. So all in all, I'm going to present this first, and afterwards, when I've finished the analysis, I'm not going to do everything I did. There's a lot more involved than just what I present here, but I think it will be quite boring for those of you who really don't care about that. But after that, I will be presenting new ideas for champions and explaining why I think they are good ideas, but also in what way they differ from the current champions. So I know that virtually all of these champions are completely overpowered at the moment. But that's not the point. The point is that these are new IDs, and the new IDs should actually kind of mix up the game a little bit, and the champion creation and things like that. So it's not about creating the perfect champion here, because the perfect champion would be completely balanced in every way, and it should have utility that is exactly right, but also damage that's exactly right. And yeah, I'm not doing that here because I have no way to test things. I'm just coming up with ideas that are just new, and well, we'll see what happens. So first of all, we're going into the champions that already exist. So here we are. As you can see, we have the champion names here in the first column. There are 79 champions currently, the newest champion being Leona, and that's also the patch we are at. So I don't know exactly which patch it is, but just for people watching this in the future, that's the patch. I have their innate abilities, their Q ability, W, E and R, and I have all of the effects that are included in that. I included them in this list, and yeah, I made all kinds of just ways to group them up. I mean, to me the damage, for example the Q skill, if I look at the Q that Akali does, to me it is exactly the same as the Q that Annie does. Both of them only do damage, nothing else. So no secondary something. And in game they're not really exactly the same, because Akali has damage, and then if she hits the person then it does more damage, where Annie just does a flat amount of damage but then gets mana back when she kills the target. To me that really doesn't make any difference, because it is the same thing. Whether or not you get mana back or energy back, or you do more damage or less damage, that's just really tuning. So, but the champion ability in and of itself is exactly the same. And as you can see, there are many damage abilities. I mean, if you read through this, virtually every ability is, or virtually every champion has 3 abilities that do damage out of the 5. So if we color them, which I already did fortunately, we get to this, and in that the red one is an increasement of the damage of your champion, the green one is a decreasement of the damage taken or HP, so basically more survivability. The yellow ones are stuns or snares, and then the other 2 I will get to in a minute. But as you can see, most of the Q abilities, which is the second row here, or the second column, sorry. So all of these, let me select them, most of them have red in them. And by most of them I mean 95%. And that is literally 95%, because if we go to the numbers, yeah, I didn't actually do the window correctly, but so here you can see the red increases damage done. 43% of all champions have that in their innate ability. 95% have that in their Q. 71% have that in their W. 86% in their E, and 81% in their R, for a total of 75% of all skills is damage. That's just an incredible amount, but it also gives you an idea of how Riot thinks about this game. This game is all about doing damage. It's not about utility or anything like that. So if we look at the second, the decreases damage or HP, so basically survivability, then we can see 38%, 16%, 37%, 22% and 33%, for a total of 29% of all skills have something to do with gaining HP or decreasing damage. And seeing that most of those are from the tanks and tanky characters, that is still an incredible amount. But 30% is yeah, a lot better than 75%, because 75% is basically saying, or even the 95% here is basically saying, well, every champion has to be able to kill other champions, and that makes the game so, yeah, so boring. Every champion does the same thing, killing other champions. There are only really a few champions that have something interesting to say. Oh, and I didn't actually finish the whole sheet, so I will have to cut it off before I get to the purple ones. Then the original skills, as I call them, those are the orange ones. Those are skills that nobody else has. So for example, Alistar's innate ability allows him to walk through units, and nobody else has that. And Anivia has a wall, and there is another wall here for Jarvan, but that's also an ability that is mainly utility based, and nobody has it. So Nocturne has a spell shield. Okay, Severe has a spell shield as well, but still it is an ability that virtually no one has, and it requires a lot of skill to use it. That is why it's a good ability. And then we have the sight reduction from the ultimate of Nocturne, which is also a very interesting skill, also unique. Then we have a blind on Teemo, which is also unique. Tristana has a range increase on her innate ability, and Twisted Fate has additional gold. There are some more gold increases. Oh, here's one. Ashe has gold increase, and Ashe has a clairvoyance effect. There are several of the clairvoyance effect. I'm probably missing a few here. The tenacity on the innate ability of Irelia is also one of those. And yeah, Janna also can walk through units. Yeah, I'm not sure. There are a lot of there are some interesting skills. So original skills that are made for one champion and basically are kept to that one champion. Maybe they exist twice in two different champions, like the spell shield or the walk through units or the wall, but still they are very original, and most of them make for completely different playstyle on that champion. And as you can see from the percentages, those are a lot lower than the other ones. There's only a total of 17 out of 395 skills that are considered by me to be original, to be really new sort of skills where you make something, the champion do something that nobody else can do. And the Teemo mushrooms are one. The Shaco's Jack-in-the-Boxes are also, those are also skills that are really unique. And I wonder if it's really too much of, well, of work to include them or to design them for all of the new champions, because it seems that, yeah, well, as I said, 95% of all Q abilities have damage in them. That means that every Q ability of future champions has that as well. I mean, we can assume that the next champion that comes out has, well, let's say 3 of the 4 skills, so his basic skills. Those are the ones with damage in them. His innate ability has about a 50% chance of having damage increase in them, and well, so on. I mean, it's just not original anymore. And yeah, if you look at other things, stuns for example, so those are the yellow ones, and you can see there's quite a lot of them. There's in fact a total of, let me see. So the stuns and snares, I put them in one box because really they serve the same purpose. There is a difference of course, but it's not a huge difference. So there's a total of 48 snares, which is 12%. And if we then look at some more statistics, how can I do this? Yeah, I didn't do this very well, but anyway. So here we can see how many of the champions have a certain ability. Well, if we go to the top, we can see that it's damage, reduced damage or HP, stuns, original skills, and well, skills that I think are nice and should be used more often, or well, should be included more often. So first of all, every champion literally has at least one damage skill. There is no champion that doesn't have a damage skill, and that to me is incredible. Is it really that important to make a pure support character? So 75% of all champions has at least one ability to reduce the damage, the incoming damage, or to increase its HP. 52% of all champions has a stun. So that's 52%. It's 1 in every 2 champions has a snare or a stun. And the only ones that don't have that are the real carries. So even Ashe has one. So I guess, or well, the champions that do something completely different, because I see like Zilean here. Well, Zilean has a completely different task in the team. So it's not just the carries that don't have it, but they're really specific champions that don't have a stun. And yeah, to me that was incredible. And I'm not even talking about slow, because slows, yeah, everybody has a slow. The purple ones are slows or speeding up. I can include them. Hang on, I'll cut this off now. I'll include the slows, because that would actually be really interesting to see. And I'll also include the dark purple ones. So I'll be back in a sec. And we are back. I modified it a little bit to include the slow. I also removed an error I saw with Anivia. I messed up the order of skills. So basically I had the Q where the innate ability was, and the W where the Q was, and so on. But I corrected it, and that resulted in well, exactly the same number overall for champion, of course. But it does result in the Q now having 96% of all champions now has damage in their Q. So just 1% difference, but doesn't really matter. Anyway, I added slow, and as you can see, 53 champions out of 79 have a slow in one of their skills, at least one of the skills. Some of them have more, and that's 67% of all champions. And then if we look at the original skills, well, you can see here which I already said which kind of skills I'm referring to there. So the skills that are unique to one or maybe 2 champions, that's only 20%, 20% of all champions have a skill that's unique, which means that 80% of all champions is basically a copy of some other champion. And that's why banning champions in ranked play is so useless nowadays, because if you just have a copy of the same champion, you have to ban both of them to get the effect out of there. And there's only 16 champions that actually have something unique to bring to the table. And most of this uniqueness is defensive. So like the walls, which are defensive. You can also use them offensively, sure, but they are normally used as defense to prevent someone from running into you. Well, not entirely true for the wall, but anyway, doesn't matter. The clairvoyants are, yeah, well, it's actually the hawk arrow on Ashe is the same thing. You generally have it as a defensive thing, but you can also use it offensively. The blind on Heimerdinger or on Teemo, things like that. Yeah, well, I'm not going to explain all of them. If you want to see which is which, then I can certainly show you that, but for now it's not really a problem. Then let's go over to the nice skills, which are skills that I think have been well designed. They're not damage skills, they're just skills that require either require skill to use, or if you have more skill you can use them better, or they just provide an effect that in my opinion would be good in this game. And the main thing about these is stealth and knockback. And knockback comes in not only knockback as in you push someone away, but I included also the rocket grab from Blitzcrank in this, for example. So as you see here. Yeah, the resurrect from Anivia to me is a really nice skill. That means also the Zillion resurrect is the same thing. And the Yorick resurrect, well, temporary resurrect, as it says in my, that's why it says TE. But temporary resurrect, that's also a really nice skill. It is not unique, but yeah, it is a really nice ID to have as a skill. And I'm not saying that the skill itself is incredibly good, it's just, yeah, it is a nice skill design wise. So the invulnerability on Tryndamere, but also on Kayle. So Kayle's ultimate here has also an invulnerability. Also, yeah, well, they're kind of unique. So I could also include them with the unique skills, but or the original skills. But they're just really nice skills to have. And the knockback on several of these champions really make for really nice play. They are this. There's some skill required in landing them, and that's what makes it a good game. If every skill was like, well, let's pick a really dull champion, Master Yi. That's, as you can see, damage, damage, healing, damage and damage. And then this one also has cooldown reduction and cleanse. Well, a cleanse type effect. But in general, yeah, really not a well designed champion. But it's one of the first champions they had in the game, so I'm not blaming them or anything. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It is just that most of these champions are not really what you would say interesting to play. Cassiopeia, damage, 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 damage. Yeah. Blaze, damage, 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 damage. Okay, he also has a stun, but that's about it. Annie, well, she has a stun here in her innate ability, and then damage, 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 well, with some armor and magic resist, and damage. Yeah, those are I mean, you need those champions as well. Those are your carries. But looking at this list, if you really go into it and look at every champion, you see that there are many of those champions, and champions that do something more that are actually interesting to play. For example, Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate has gold, for example, which is a kind of makes your skill or makes for a unique skill, an original skill, because nobody else has it. It gives your whole team a benefit of having extra gold. And maybe it's not enough to make a real difference in the game, but it is a unique skill. Then of course he has damage, but this damage also comes with extra mana, a stun, and slow, and because you can choose between them, that makes it a very good skill design wise. It's also a little bit overpowered to have 3 skills in one, but not discussing that at the moment. Then his E skill, damage, attack speed increase, and cooldown reduction. Yeah, that's kind of what we see on all of the things, all of the champions. And so that's really common. Then the reveal and the teleport, those both of which are really nice skills to have. And not only that, they make for a completely different way to play this guy. It makes that he can push a different lane and then join his team when he needs to. It makes that he can see invisible champions when he needs to. It makes that he can teleport to the champion he wants, or to the base, or whatever. These kind of skills are really what make this game fun. And yeah, we see that on some of the champions. There's not a whole lot of them that have multiple of them. Teemo has 2. Teemo has stealth in his innate ability, and he has the reveal, so basically the warding on his ultimate. And to me that is a really nice skill, because it allows you, if you're skillful with Teemo, to gain map control and to gain vision over a big portion of the map. And that is a really good thing to have, because skillful players can use that and unskillful players cannot. Then Lee Sin, he's the only one I think with 3 of them. Knockback, first of all, which is a skill that if used correctly can be really good, but if you're not good with it, then yeah, it's not very good. Reveal on his E skill, and then a knockback on his R. By the way, I am pretty sure this is not supposed to be knockback, but kind of a flash type thing. But I don't think his Q ability has a knockback effect. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So this should be a flash effect. And yeah, well, I don't care. Flash. And that means that it's actually supposed to be green, because all of the light greens are flash effects, and as you can see there's quite a lot of them. And those are also yeah, pretty common. There's still a lot more of them, and yeah, well. So not actually anyone with 3 of them. I'm sorry, it's a bit messy, but that's because, well, I wanted to get this out there. I've been working on this for quite a while now, and I am going to make a new video once I read all of your comments on what you think I forgot or anything like that. So please let me know if I forgot something, and I will include it in the final video. So anyway, that's it for now. Oh, I'll show you the percentages here. So 71 out of the 395 skills have a slow in them, or a movement increase. So I had to put those 2 together because they're basically movement modifiers. And that's 18%. Then 4% have original skills, and 8% of all skills are actually really nice skills to have. So there's only 8%, and well, only 4% is really original. And I guess the 2 of them can be combined to say these are the skills you want on a champion, making a total of 12%, and that's not a whole lot to me. So now we're going to see what can we do, what would be interesting champions to have, and that is especially where I would really like some feedback. because I am sure that everyone has had an idea about what kind of champion they would want. And don't say, or don't come up with an idea like a champion that does 17,000 damage with his Q with 0 cooldown, because that is not a nice champion. That is just an overpowered champion. And yes, everybody wants an overpowered champion. So that's it for now, and I'll be back in a sec with the other part of the video.